All right, awesome. Well, hey everyone, let's get started. Welcome to Unity Catalog Managed Tables, faster queries, lower costs, effortless data management. First, some boilerplate, forward-looking statement, TLDR, everything here is informational. Please don't sue us if our future roadmap doesn't come true exactly when we say it does. Next, okay, who am I and who is she? I'm Sirui. I'm the product manager heading up a team that works on storage at Databricks. So managed tables, everything that makes them great, disaster recovery, so on and so forth. And this is Elizabeth.
Hi everyone, I'm Elizabeth. I'm the product manager for Unity Catalog Managed Tables. You can also come talk to me about converting your tables to be UC managed, as well as table level observability. I'll send it off to Sirui to get started with this presentation today.
All right, let's do it. So I'm going to kick us off. By the way, all the art you see today is AI generated. Pretty cool. So I'm going to kick us off with a trade-off that is as old as time, I think, which is the fork in the road between great performance and openness. So by performance, I mean that in the broadest sense of the word. How good is something, right? Is it fast? Is it easy to use? And by openness, I mean, is the thing interoperable? Is it modular? Can you swap it out? Are you locked in? Are you not locked in? And so usually, you can only have one or the other, right? It's a fork in the road, great performance or openness. And so maybe to take a household example, Apple iOS versus Android, right? If you want the smoothest, best performing operating system, this is slightly controversial, but iOS I think is the way to go. It's amazing, but you have to use Apple hardware, right? But separately, if you want an operating system that's open source and that it's modular and you can swap it out and you can use it on any hardware, you got to go with Android, but it's a little slower, it's a little less easy to use. Closer to home, I think we have proprietary databases versus open data platforms. So this has historically been the trade-off in the space, right? For years and years and years before the lakehouse. So proprietary databases for a long time have promised you really fast performance. They've done automatic optimizations underneath the hood. They give you a really nice, polished user experience, everything else under the sun. And they've been doing that for a while now, but only so long as you keep the data in their systems in a proprietary data format. And if you want to get to that data, you have to go through their compute, right? You have to go pay them and run queries through their engine. And on the other hand, you could cobble the systems yourself using open source technologies. And that'll give you interoperable or give you modular, but it comes at a cost, right? Either you hire a team of really great data engineers, or you might suffer in terms of price performance and have a number of other trade-offs as well. So fork in the road still exists, right? Proprietary database systems versus open data platforms. And at this point, some of you might ask, well, haven't the proprietary database vendors announced open format support? Right, now, I won't name their names, but there's a few of them, and they're all, I think they're all blue for some reason. But the question is, well, they announced Iceberg support recently, so isn't this trade-off done for good? Aren't we past this? Well, it turns out these vendors, well, they might claim to have Iceberg support or open table format support, but in reality, if you do some digging, it turns out, well, they still fundamentally present you with the same choices within their platform. So with these platforms, you can either go with their proprietary format flavor, which they've had for a long time now. But of course, in that case, it's the same trade-off from before. You can't get external reads and writes, at least not straight to the storage. But of course, you get the best performance there, right? At least relative to their own offerings. You'll get their automated query speed up, automated storage optimizations, all that good stuff. And then separately, they recently announced this open format capability. And one thing to note here is that actually all of these vendors, this is true for all of these vendors, they allow third-party clients, third-party tools to read from their data, but none of them offer third-party writes. So even in this sort of openness dimension, it's kind of a partial credit. And then on the price perf dimension, if you're going to use those external tools, they don't like that, and so they're not going to provide all of their performance optimizations there. So things like their search optimization service or other query optimization services are not going to apply to these third-party tools. So you can sort of use them, but the fork in the road critically still exists, right? You can either get blazing fast price performance relative to the other offerings, or you can get full openness, and you have to choose. And the core thesis of this talk, the thing that we're going to talk about today, is that with managed tables, we've built them from the ground up to not have this choice, right? There's only one managed table offering. There's no fork in the road. And you get both, right? You get really great performance, and you get openness. And so specifically, we'll talk about why we have customers like Zepto who say that with our automatic optimizations, we've been able to save them over $1 million in storage costs annually. At the same time, we have customers like Rivian who talk about how managed tables are super open. This is the same offering, no fork in the road. How managed tables are open and have open standards, and there's a wide ecosystem of tools that they can use. And so specifically, in a moment, Elizabeth will come on. We'll break down what are managed tables. We'll start from square zero, and then we'll dive into all the amazing benefits. And then from there, we'll go a little future-facing and talk about, one, a really exciting announcement on an easy conversion command to take your external tables and make them managed. And then two, as well, our upcoming roadmap, because we're constantly investing more and more into these managed tables. And along the way, we'll also talk about a bunch of the new announcements that we're launching immediately at the Data and AI Summit. OK, so let's dive in. No more abstract red and green houses. Let's talk about specifically the problems we're trying to solve. So first, we're going to center this talk around Daniel, our hypothetical head of data engineering. Daniel, we're going to try and solve 3 problems for Daniel. The first is great price performance, right? And specifically, Daniel is worried about, well, what's helping to make my tables the most price performant that they can be, right? Are people getting actionable insights? Are my jobs completing within SLA? Or is everything slowing down to a halt? And at the same time, Daniel's also worried about overspending. Am I over-investing in optimizations? Am I overdoing it as well? So could things be cheaper? Secondly, Daniel is worried about vendor lock-in and interoperability. So here specifically, am I able to use open source formats? Do I have the flexibility to fire my vendors and go take all of my data somewhere else without having to copy all my data out? And third, making the move. So even if you're convinced of the first 2 bullet points, are you able to actually take your external tables, which often make the majority of your data estate, and make them managed tables easily? So from here, hand it off to Elizabeth.
So I'm going to tell you about all of the benefits that Unity Catalog Managed Tables have to offer for Daniel, the data engineer, and for all of you here. But first, I want to talk a little bit more about what are UC Managed Tables for any of you who may not know. In addition, for those of you who do know, I'm going to share some new information as we go along that you actually haven't heard before. So first, what are UC Managed Tables? How are they different than other table types? The most important thing to know is that with UC Managed Tables, Unity Catalog is actually the source of truth. In comparison, with UC External Tables, you can read and write to the cloud storage system, but Unity Catalog can't actually see what's going on. In addition, Unity Catalog Managed Tables provide better performance, as well as cost savings as compared to these other table types. So that's why they're so great. And actually, that we've found that of all Unity Catalog Managed tables plus UC External Tables, we actually see that the majority of Unity Catalog table types are managed today. So you don't want to be left behind, but we're going to share some new tools to help you on your journey. So that's great. I talked about some optimizations, but you're probably wondering, what actually makes Unity Catalog Managed Tables so powerful? Tell me more about the optimizations. Let's dive into it. But what's most important to know about Unity Catalog Managed Tables and how they're actually optimized is the fact that unlike UC External Tables, UC Managed Tables actually intelligently learn from all your reads and writes. So here on the left, you can see with external tables, the way that they're actually created is that you say they create the table and you specify the path. Whereas with UC Managed Tables, Unity Catalog will create the path for you. However, you can define the catalog and the schema where that managed table resides, as well as the storage location for that catalog and schema. Why is this so important? With external tables, reads and writes can actually bypass Unity Catalog access controls. So it's less secure, and we can't see what's going on. Whereas with managed tables, all access actually goes through Unity Catalog. And this structure is so important is because that's what enables fully automatic optimizations. Because we can see your reads and writes, we can see your query patterns, what predicates you are using, how frequently that you're querying those tables. That's how we're able to come up with automatic optimizations for your specific needs. So I talked about managed tables, right, managed, but are they open and interoperable? The answer is yes. They're fully open and interoperable. You can see all of the third-party tools here that we offer for you. In addition, with delta sharing, you can also share data between different organizations using a single stored copy of your data rather than multiple, so no need for data duplication. In addition, we offer modern open table formats and open catalog APIs. So you can use something called credential vending to get third-party access to your UC managed tables. So you can access your UC managed tables with third-party tools outside of Databricks. So think about Daniel, the data engineer again, right? He doesn't want to be locked in. He wants to choose the best tool to get his job done, and with Unity Catalog Managed Tables, you can do that. So when I say access from third-party tools, what do I actually mean here? First, I'm talking about reads. So you can read a UC managed table from a third-party client. But as well, you can also write to a UC managed table today using a third-party client. So this is something that's new today, and that's being announced at this summit. Unity Catalog is, again, the only catalog that actually supports reads and writes from third-party clients and with governance. So that's really what makes Databricks so special. Our tables are fully open and interoperable. And as a sneak peek of some things I'm going to tell you next, we actually optimize your tables for you. And what does that mean in terms of third-party access, as well as access from Databricks? That means that you get actually faster reads and writes, whether you're reading or writing from a Databricks client or from an external client as well. So that's really why Unity Catalog Managed Tables are so powerful here. So time for a quiz. Let's see who's been paying attention and who's awake so early in the morning. Which of the following is true? So thumbs up if you think it's true, thumbs down if you think it's false. If you don't know, you can do this. UC managed tables live in customer-owned storage. True or false? All right, looks like most of you guys got it right. It's true. Yes, UC managed tables, they're managed by Unity Catalog, but they're in customer-owned storage, so you have full control of your data. Number 2. You can save up to 20% on storage costs using UC managed tables. True or false? Or I don't know. You can save up to 20%. I got some I don't knows, some yeses. I don't see any no's. False. You can save up to 50% in storage costs using Unity Catalog Managed Tables. So definitely a lot of benefits here. Last question. This is a trick question. It's a tricky question. A lot of our customers don't really know the answer. So let's see who knows the right answer. Predictive optimization is available with UC external tables. True? False? I don't know. I see a lot of no's. I see some yeses. I see some other things going on here. False. So predictive optimization is actually not available with UC external tables, but because we can't see all the reads and writes that you're making to your table. And predictive optimization, what it does is it learns from how you're reading and writing to your table. It learns from your usage patterns. But with UC external tables, we can't actually see everything that's going on, whereas with UC managed tables, remember, UC is the source of truth, or Unity Catalog is the source of truth, and so it can see everything that's going on, whether you're reading or writing from Databricks, whether you're reading or writing from other third-party tools, and that's how it's able to do all of these optimizations. All right, so now we talked about an intro of UC managed tables. We talked a little bit about what they are, how Unity Catalog is actually the source of truth. We talked about how they're the most open and interoperable in the industry. And we talked about some of the optimizations, the automatic optimizations that they provide to you. Let's dive a little bit deeper into the benefits. But before I do, I did want to mention one thing to you, which is what's great about UC managed tables is you can always know that you're using the latest and greatest features. You don't have to pay attention to what's coming out. Maybe I should update my tables. We will do that automatically for you and when it's safe to do so. As you can see here with deletion vectors, for any new tables that you create, this is automatically enabled for you, which makes merge and table join operations much more efficient. So again, You're always up to date with UC managed tables. So now let's dive into the most important feature available with Unity Catalog Managed Tables that gives you a lot of these benefits, and that is predictive optimization. It gives you 20 times faster query speeds, as well as up to 50% lower costs, which I hope all of you guys remember from the quiz earlier today. Predictive optimization has been widely adopted. Again, it's saving customers like Zepto $1 million annually per year, so that's every year they're saving $1 million. That's a lot of money. And if you're even a larger customer, then you'd save even more. So I said predictive optimization. You might be wondering, so how exactly does that work? We're talking about predictive optimization. What is it actually predicting? I'm going to walk through that with you here. So what predictive optimization does is it automatically optimizes your layout using artificial intelligence. It will look at the table data, how you're querying from that table. So how many bytes are you reading? What are the query predicates? How frequently are you querying that table? All that kind of information it will look at. And then a model is trained based on that data to determine the best data layout. But as it's doing this, it also does the math to see, are the optimizations actually worth doing? Let's say that a table is actually rarely ever queried by anybody. Then does it make sense to optimize it? Probably not. As opposed to if you have a table that's very frequently used, then you definitely are going to want to optimize that for faster query times. So we do that math for you and make sure that the benefits outweigh the costs of actually doing the optimizations. Those optimizations are then run automatically for you using predictive optimization. We'll automatically size the cluster for you. We'll bin pack jobs for maximum efficiency. And we'll also log the results to actually show you what happened. And we have a new predictive optimization return on investment dashboard available in beta today. So take note of that. Check it out. That's something new for you. So we talked a little bit about predictive optimization and how it's actually working. One more point I did want to point out in terms of the difference between UC external tables and UC managed tables is that with UC external tables, there's a set of commands that you can run to help optimize your tables. But you have to do these manually. These are the ones on this screen. However, with UC managed tables, these are done automatically for you. And yes, I see people taking pictures. That's great. These are good to know about. UC managed tables, however, will run these all automatically for you. So as long as you're using a UC managed table, you don't have to worry about these things. So what's actually going on is that UC managed tables is clustering your data so that it can be queried in a more performant way. It will compact your file sizes to help you save on storage costs. These are optimized commands, but Daniel, the data engineer, for example, he may get really excited about optimizations. He's running optimize on a regular job on all of his tables. He thinks he's doing great, but he may be over-optimizing his tables when he actually doesn't need to be. Maybe some of them, like I said earlier, aren't actually queried so often. But UC managed tables will do all that math for you to actually determine when the best time is to run optimize. And then thirdly, we've got the deleting unneeded files with the vacuum command. This is a very important command that helps you save on storage costs. And you might run this with UC external tables, or like some of our customers, unfortunately, they forget to run this. And so they're leaving a lot of money on the table, unfortunately. But with UC managed tables, this is run automatically for you, so you can make sure that you're saving that money. Lastly, there's a command called analyze with UC external tables, which UC managed tables automates for you. Many of you probably don't even know what this is. Customers don't know, so we run this automatically for you. What it does is it collects data skipping statistics to make queries run faster, and I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into that specifically for UC managed tables. So I gave you an overview of one of our most exciting features available with UC managed tables called predictive optimization, but I also wanted to dive a little bit deeper into each feature, how it works so you can really understand it and go home and say, I'm an expert on UC managed tables. So here's the list of everything you get. Some of them you probably know, some of them you might not know. We've got automatic statistics collection. We've got automatic liquid clustering. We've got automatic vacuum with predictive optimization on Unity Catalog managed tables. So again, they're all automatically done for you. We've got file cleaning for drop tables. We've got metadata caching, which I'll tell you some more about. And we have file size optimizations, as well as more features to come. So let's dive into it. Automatic statistics collection. You're probably wondering, what is this? How does it work? What we do is we collect statistics on your tables for particular columns so that we know which data we can skip. So for example, here, let's say you're querying for number 4. You're looking at column 2. Here with file 1, we can see the minimum is 1, the maximum is 2, whereas for file 2, the minimum is 50, the maximum is 100. Those are statistics as some of the examples of ones that we collect. And so you can see we can just skip file 2 entirely when we're querying that table. And so that's how we're able to speed up query times because we've collected these statistics. With UC external tables, by default, you could run the analyze command and collect some statistics for the first 32 columns. But with UC managed tables, it will optimally determine which of those columns it may want to collect the statistics for, and it does that all automatically for you, which helps increase query speeds. Number 2, we've got automatic liquid clustering. So not just liquid clustering, it's automatic liquid clustering. And so just to explain what's going on here conceptually, let's say I have a query. Select data from the table where it's February 5th, customer ID is B. As you can see here on the left side, as data is ingested, it just is ordered by date, so that's great. But when you're querying that data, you're only able to skip 50% of the files, okay? So it's not in February 6th, it's February 5th, so I'm gonna look in these, and then I'm gonna find, customer B. You can skip 50% of the files. Whereas in the second case with liquid clustering, in our case automatic liquid clustering, because we do that automatically for you, here we're clustering the data by customer ID and date. So you can see here, if we cluster in a different way, we can actually skip more of the files, leading to faster query speeds. So when we're talking about external tables and UC managed tables, so what's really the difference here? With UC external tables, you have to do manual liquid clustering. You have to choose which columns to cluster by. You have to know its customer ID is B, so I'm going to cluster by customer ID, as well as date. But imagine, I have my tables, and I'm trying to think okay, who are all the people that are reading my table? What query predicates are they using? I have no clue. I don't even know. And I have so many tables. How would I know how to optimally cluster my data? Well, you can do that. You can try, but that's going to take a lot of time. Instead, with UC managed tables, we do that automatically for you. We determine which clustering keys will make the most sense. So you can just specify cluster by auto. So you have the option to do so. So again, you have the optionality with UC managed tables to better cluster your data and improve query speeds. And so again, what's the difference here with UC external and UC managed, like I talked about before? The thing with managed tables is it can learn from your read and write patterns, like I talked about earlier. It's looking at how are you querying from that table. And based on that, it's determining what's the best data layout that we should do. So I talked about the first 2 features available with predictive optimization, again, only on UC managed tables. That quiz question that I talked to you about earlier, only available on UC managed tables. The third one is automatic vacuum. And so here what's going on is we're deleting data that's no longer referenced by any active table. But as you can see here, you can still time travel on the table. You can still go historically to past versions. But again, there may be some data that is lying around. We don't need it. So we're going to vacuum that. And UC managed tables will actually do that automatically for you to help you save time, to save on costs. Please, if you go home, make sure you're either running vacuum or you're using UC managed tables to automatically run vacuum, because please don't leave so much money on the table. In addition, something that's kind of new with UC managed tables specifically is we have something called light vacuum. And what that is if you actually have a really large table, some of our customers have had trouble, running vacuum on those really large tables. But with UC managed tables and light vacuum, we'll cache the transaction log information, and so you can kind of pull that information more quickly and then do that vacuum process better on those large tables. So that's something available with UC managed tables. So we talked about those 3 features. Now let's talk about some features that are specific to UC managed tables, but not necessarily part of predictive optimization. We've got automatic file cleanup for dropped tables. So let's say if I run drop table, my table, I want to delete it, I want to get rid of it. With an external table, the table metadata, that's deleted. But the actual table data, you actually have to go back into cloud storage to get rid of that. And so some of our customers have had trouble because the developers have they forgot to go and delete everything. So you have a bunch of files sitting around that you didn't want those over there. In comparison with UC managed tables, you have the option to automatically delete all of that data right away. So you can delete the table metadata as well as the table data so you don't have anything lying around that's going to cost more costs. But we also have an undrop period that's going to be configurable. And so again, you're not leaving any money on the table. You're making sure when you actually delete a table, it's going to be deleted. So we talked about that. And now let's talk about the last two features. This one, metadata caching, you actually might not know about. A lot of our customers don't know about it. I don't even know if we've publicly shared it anywhere, but this is something that's good to know about UC managed tables, is that in this case, when you actually run a query, what we do is we cache the transaction log. And so when I say metadata caching, you're probably thinking the column names or maybe the number of rows of the table. It's not that. We're actually caching the entire transaction log, where the transaction log tells you the change history, whether you inserted a row in the table, whether you deleted something. All that information, we're actually caching that. So instead of having to actually go to cloud storage, having repeated API calls to cloud storage, which could cost additional money, we're caching that for you so we can pull that more quickly. And this is also important with UC managed tables because here, whenever we write to that table, we're actually able to refresh that cache. And since Unity Catalog can actually see everything, it can keep an up-to-date cache, whereas with UC external tables, that could be out of date. So again, that's why this feature is only available with UC managed tables. So again, this helps speed query times. Lastly, I know you guys are like, wow, there's so many features, so I can't believe there's another one. This is the last one I'll talk about today. So we actually automatically optimize the file sizes for you, compacting the files just so they're the right size to help you save on storage costs. This leverages learnings from thousands of production deployments in order to do this. So in summary, UC managed tables give you faster queries, lower storage costs, and all of this is automatically done for you. So again, the word automatic, that's key. So everyone who's falling asleep, please stand up for a stretch break. Everyone, stand up, stretch, stretch, stretch. I'm going to pass it to Sirui. He's going to share some exciting info.
Yeah, right. Y'all can sit down. Good stretch break. All right, cool. So in this section, I'm going to be talking about, what's coming up next? Because we're investing heavily into making managed tables, as always, even more interoperable and also faster and cheaper and easier to use. So I'm going to hit you all with a flurry of announcements of things that are coming and things that are currently released. The first one, a release that is a DICE announcement. It's available now. Multi-statement transactions on managed tables. So multi-statement transaction, I'm sure most of you know what these are, is the ability to execute a transaction across multiple tables or statements. So in this particular example query, we are merging into a customer dimension table as well as a fact table for sales at the same time. And so these two statements across these two tables are either going to atomically succeed or they're both going to fail. And readers are going to see a consistent view of the universe no matter what. So these are a staple of traditional database systems, as I'm sure many of you know, and it's super helpful for especially when you're migrating to Databricks from one of those systems where you have code like this. And they are coming in, they're available in private preview now. And they take advantage of the fact that for managed tables, Unity Catalog is the source of truth. So there's a catalog that sits above the table, which is required to actually coordinate transactions between multiple statements and multiple tables. And so try that out. Oh, you can't even see the text down there, but it says now in private preview. So contact your account team if you want to try this out. Next, this is something we talk a lot about to customers, is a lot of y'all, we know, have external tables. You created them when maybe back before managed tables were as good as they are now, or maybe they're as part of a legacy deployment. And so one thing that you'd like to do is move them to managed tables, assuming we've sold you today. And so what we've built, before that, let's talk about the problems with moving from an external table to a managed table. So going back to Daniel, Daniel's a detail-oriented data engineer, and so he thinks about the process of moving from external to managed, and there's some challenges here, right? Because what about preserving table history, right? If you just move a table today and you just copy it straight from an external to managed, you're going to lose that table history no matter what you do. Maybe you don't want that. What about preserving the name and the settings and the permissions? Usually those get wiped as well. So you have to reconfigure them, readjust your code to point to the new table, things like that. What about reducing reader and writer downtime? Because many of you have production systems, many users. They're all expecting these tables to stay queryable, and you can't really afford long maintenance windows. And then finally, what about handling rollbacks? So what if something goes wrong and you need to undo it? So all of this, it's not impossible to solve, but it's just elbow grease. And maybe you don't want to, not able to invest in doing this. Maybe it's a little challenging. And so that's why we've built this capability to basically allow you to easily convert from an external table to a managed table with a simple command. Simple command. Alter table, set managed. Okay, so you run this command, and it immediately makes this table a managed table. So everything that Elizabeth talked about in terms of predictive optimization, the Delta metadata cache, file right sizing, everything like that, it immediately kicks in for this table once this command succeeds. And among the benefits is it really aims to solve the biggest challenges today, the ones that Daniel just thought about. So first of all, it retains table history. So the new table is a managed table, but it retains all of the history from before. Secondly, it retains the same table configurations as well. So the table keeps its name, its permissions, and everything like that. And so already you can start to imagine how this conversion process might start to be a little bit lower friction. It also eases reader and writer downtime. And so part of this is just I don't have to go and reconfigure my code to talk to a different table. But also what it's doing is it's doing a lot of the configuration in the background, and then it's only swapping clients over once it's finished that work. And so you're not actually waiting in the middle and incurring that downtime. And it's even smart enough to handle things like concurrent writes during the conversion process. So it's doing a bit of work to do the conversion. During that time, the world might shift out from underneath you, but it's smart enough to reconcile those changes and apply them over once the migration is complete. And so it's really designed so that you can just hit go and really not worry about it. But of course, you might still worry as a proper data engineer, a proper detail-oriented one. And so we've also built a rollback capability. So for a number of weeks after you run this command, you can actually say unset managed, and you'll roll back to the state that you were in before. And our goal is to make it as easy as possible, and also to make it a two-way door as well, so you're not walking through anything that you can't undo. This is also available in public preview today, and we'll show a QR code in a second for how you can try this out. Okay, so what else is on our roadmap? Well, we've already seen about multi-statement transactions. We've already seen about easy conversion. There's another slew of announcements coming up in the keynotes, which I'm not allowed to talk about because they are embargoed. But they definitely center around interoperability and the story there around connecting to managed tables from external tools, read and write. So stay tuned for that. I think on Thursday is the keynote. But let's lightning round through a bunch of the stuff that's coming after the Data and AI Summit. So the first one is configurable undrop periods. So as Elizabeth mentioned, when you drop a managed table today, we will go ahead and delete the underlying files. Today, we actually give you 7 days in which to undo that. So you can say undrop within 7 days, and we'll just restore the table immediately, no questions asked. One thing we're doing is we're just making that a little bit more configurable. So now you can say, keep this table around, even after I drop it, keep the table around for up to 90 days, or 100 days, or 30 days, or don't keep the table around for 7 days. And then you can also sort of empty your recycle bin as well. That's the command below, where you can just say, hey, I dropped it, delete the files immediately, because I don't want to pay for storage anymore. Next, we talked about the easy conversion command from external tables. We're also working on one for foreign tables as well. So foreign tables, of course, ones where there's another catalog, a foreign catalog that we're federating to. And so converting those tables to managed, easily changing a catalog and schema's location. So this one's kind of interesting. When you create a managed table, the storage location is in a storage bucket that you control. And the way that we decide which storage location to use is we look at the catalog and the schema, and then you can set a storage location for catalogs and schemas. Historically, you haven't been able to change them, though, and sometimes people have just set it to the default and forgotten about it, but now they want to sort of clean house and make sure your storage locations align with your catalogs and schemas, so we're introducing the ability to actually set that after you created it. Seems obvious, but take a bit of work. Among other things, improved table observability. So this is a really common ask that we get as well around, I have a bunch of tables, but how big are they? And how good is their data layout? And we want to make it really easy to observe those properties of tables. In fact, not only just of managed tables, but also of external tables. And so we're working on a out-of-the-box system table that you can query to get that kind of information about all of your tables. Okay, and then the last one on this list for the second half is going to be a busy second half of the year for us, is auto time to live for your tables. So this is a really common use case we hear where, for example, for GDPR purposes, you might want to say, hey, for a table, delete every row that's older than 60 days. Right? And you could do this today. You can basically write a job that runs all the time and says, hey, if this row is older than 60 days, delete it and then later vacuum it. But we just want to make that really easy for you. Kind of a set and forget thing. So you can say something like alter table, set TTL 60 days using this particular column name. And so every row in that column, which is older than 60 days, just automatically gets deleted and vacuumed by predictive optimization. Okay, two more things. One is in the second half of 2026, more predictive optimizations. We're just going to be constantly cranking out more and more optimizations. Our whole internal process is figuring out the knobs that data engineers turn and trying to see, hey, can we actually turn those for you? At least for a subset of cases where maybe you don't want to worry about them. And then finally, disaster recovery. Really big effort for us. A big lift, but also a super important piece of work. We want it to make it so that for a UC managed table, you can tell us to basically replicate that to another region, and that we'll do so within 15 minutes, regardless of the size and the scale of the table. So super important for us, but and coming in the first half of the next calendar year. So busy roadmap, but to close, I hope our talk today has illustrated how managed tables are the best of both worlds, right? You get openness, you get third-party reads and writes. That's the only managed table offering in the market for that. And you also get performance. And so, instead of worrying about forks in the road, you can, march with confidence down the paved path towards this managed tables offering that has both. And in fact, with the conversion command, we make that the ability to do that even easier. And so I think we've solved all of Daniel's challenges that we set out to solve, and that makes Daniel a happy camper. All right, so that concludes our talk today. A few things before we go. One is the QR code for signing up for that conversion to managed tables command is right there. Even if you miss it now, you can just look in our docs, and there's a blog post coming out in a week. Two is sessions. So if you're interested in some of in diving into the topics that we talked about today, there's actually deep dive topics that you can see there. One on diving into the conversion command, one on diving into predictive optimization and how it works. There's another one on Liquid, not pictured here, and the last one on, well, how do you actually interoperate with managed tables using external clients? So definitely be sure to check these out. And finally, be sure to leave session survey results for us. That helps us improve the talk. And with that, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your conference.